Okay. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Chop Talk, episode 9. We got Dean Frank here and Evan Neville
How
out
we
here.
doing?
We're a little mobile, got a little podcast set up on Zoom, but I'm excited to get into the media aspect of the world
Yeah.
and let's get it. Um, Bro, so playoffs, man. It's been so exciting now. We got the Eastern and Western Conference about to start tomorrow, Tuesday, the 16th. But yeah, what are you thinking? I mean, is it
I
the end of the
mean,
Warriors dynasty?
yeah, we can start there. So just looking at this past series with the Lakers and the Warriors. I know you're hyped right now, being a Lakers fan.
Definitely. Oh my
Gosh.
God. Everyone was counting us out for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, really stepping up. LeBron and AD came to play, hooked up the Warriors, finished us in 6. I'm a Warriors fan myself, so that hurt to see. But before we go into what we're gonna see in the Western Conference Finals, I thought we could just talk a little bit about what's next for the Warriors because they're done. And they don't really have a solid plan, I would say, as to what their future looks like. Um, so, losing in 6, going into next year, what do you feel about Jordan Poole?
Dude, I mean, with as much as he was getting paid, he wasn't putting up any numbers, right? He might have gone above 10 points one game, but
Yeah,
he was nowhere to be seen. It looked like he had no confidence shooting the ball. I mean, game 6, he had a couple and ones, but nothing like crazy. It seemed like they were kind of just waiting for Steph to carry them to success.
yeah. We saw he had that 20-point game in game 1 against the Lakers,
Right.
and that was after coming off, not a great series against the Kings. So I
Yeah.
thought maybe he would build some momentum. And it seemed like as the series got on, he just lost more and more of his confidence. And then we saw from games 3 to game 6, he played a total of like 45 minutes combined in all those games.
Yeah, it's
So,
crazy. Like looking at it, it's like at this point, would you rather have Jordan Poole or like there's so many different type of role players around the league that I feel like the Warriors might even end up having a better fit with if they want to look somewhere else.
yeah, I think
So,
altogether, I don't think you can count on this team to go, oh, let's just run it back next year and expect a different result.
yeah.
I think potential wise, this team really maxed out on a second round exit. It's nothing to be, ashamed of, but
I mean, for the Warriors, it's win it all or
or bust.
failure, and
Yeah.
like you got to give your respect to them. I mean, they won it all last year, so we all kind of look as like the defending champs. Are they going to get back to the chip? I mean, everyone kind of thought the Lakers were sorry and weren't gonna make a run at all. But I guess
Yeah.
yeah, keeping with the Warriors a bit. I don't know. I think it's their game style is so different from any other teams.
Mhm.
I mean, currently it's like they rely so heavily on the three, and if the three isn't going in,
It
they're
doesn't look
definitely
good.
not getting any foul calls to help them get to the line or anything else like that. We saw the Lakers had triple the foul calls
Yeah.
in most games, which definitely had a great impact.
No,
Um,
I agree. I think one of the things that a lot of fans were mad about was the free throw discrepancy between the two teams.
yeah,
But I mean, you hit on that perfectly. Like, if you're not attacking the basket and all your players are perimeter players just shooting the three, then you can't be mad at the free throws.
exactly.
And in playoffs, if you're attacking the basket, the refs are going to see that and they're going to call those calls.
That's why it was such a good matchup for the Lakers too, because we definitely
Yeah.
are a 3-point shooting team. So LeBron and AD driving to the rack. I mean, we definitely got a lot more fouls called
Yeah.
by the Warriors. Um,
So kind of adding
do I
on to
think they're
that,
done? No. Like they still got Steph Curry, best shooter of all time. But it's interesting, because Clay was also really nowhere to be seen. Where was Game 6, Clay? That's just a myth now. So
it's
I'm not.
over.
Do you know a little more about like Clay and Draymond's contracts, or how does that work?
Yeah, so they're both this going to the 2023-2024 NBA season free agents.
Wow.
And, you know, I know last year and the years prior, people said this was like the end of the Warriors dynasty. But when you're looking at the contracts, I would feel that this is really the year that we're going to be looking at in history where it all kind of crumbles because Clay and Draymond, they're at that point in their career where they're going to be wanting the max contracts, those max deals. And, you saw how they played. They're not worthy of them.
I think Draymond already got his contract with TNT, so I think he's ready to
He's
start up
good.
with Shaq and Chuck up out there. But yeah,
Yeah. he's good running the pod. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that'll be crazy to see the Warriors without the big three. I think Clay will end up staying. I mean, I like what type of team could you see even Clay even joining if it wasn't the Warriors?
I could actually see him on the Lakers.
LA, LA boy with his dad out there being the
Yeah,
radios, that'd be crazy.
but it all depends on the money he's willing to take. Because I'm sure there is a team, some lower level team that would offer him the max. But I
Yep,
can't imagine the Warriors giving the way he played, giving his age, giving him another 4 year max deal. It's just not happening.
yep.
And then with Draymond, did you see after the game that they lost, he said he wants to be a Warrior for life.
Yeah, I saw there was a lot like right after they lost, he's like out there dapping up LeBron, like laughing. It's like, dude, you just lost, and like
Dude,
I
dapping
don't
up
know.
his
I thought
father.
it was a little interesting. Yeah, his glorious king is what we called it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's just a character, you know,
Yeah.
blowout anyways. I guess like so it was kind of tougher to. I guess he kind of realized it was over earlier,
Yeah.
but
I mean, obviously he has the respect of those guys. For him, same sort of thing. If he's willing to take that lesser deal, I could definitely see the Warriors re-signing him more
definitely.
so than Clay, because I think at this point he just can provide more value with his defense. And when Clay's not hitting, it looks bad. I mean, it looked bad.
I love how Clay just keeps shooting though. Like
Yeah.
even if he's missing, he was like 3 for 11, like at half. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
You got to
Definitely.
respect it. So, I mean, I think that's one of those things. I saw that Draymond is going to announce on his own podcast on the volume his future plans with the Warriors. So I guess we got to stay tuned to see that. And everything else with the contracts and whatnot will play itself out. So
Yeah.
that's something we'd have to wait for.
Next year, well, I guess will be another pivotal year for the Warriors because it's
Yeah.
just win it all or nothing.
Hmm.
Yeah, let's move on. I guess before we get into the new series, I guess talk a little about the Sixers choking in Game 7. You know, I mean, it's a super tough atmosphere to be in Boston. Game 7. You know, those fans out there, we're
Yeah.
not going to let the game go by easy. But I mean, they had that 3-2 series lead. They lost it in six, even after Tatum had like a quiet game, but went off in the fourth quarter.
Uh
But wow,
huh.
Tatum, 50 piece, just like that.
The
And
Nuggets.
it just
Oh,
seemed like what they went on. I think it was like a 30-5 run in the third quarter. It was pretty close. Like at half, it was a 3 point game, and then boom, just like that, threes,
yeah.
threes.
I mean, you got to respect the Celtics crowd at home. And I think that game 6 was really pivotal. Going back home, I think the Sixers just let that slip away. And I mean,
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting, I don't know if you were, did you really think that the Sixers had a chance to beat the Celtics game 7 at their home? Like, I just thought they had no shot.
I mean, dude, with the MVP, you never know how he's gonna play as
Yeah.
well as Harden. So they're super inconsistent with Harden. Like he could show up and put 40 up, you know. So it's always interesting to watch him play. I
Yeah.
mean, I was also super interested to see how Tatum would bounce back from his slower start the game
Hmm.
before. So, yeah, do you think this game was more just because Tatum went off and the Celtics played really well, or would you, I guess, rely more on the Sixers not playing too well? And
Well,
yeah, because the
I
Sixers had a super tough history with Game Sevens these past couple years. They have not yet to make it out of the Eastern Conference with Doc Rivers as their coach. So, what do you think the issue is there?
yeah, I think it was definitely a mix of both. I mean, obviously 51 points in a game 7. Curry's probably somewhere slumped right now, a little pissed.
Yeah,
His,
yeah. One more point for
yeah,
the
his game 7 record held up for a good 2 weeks.
record.
But so on one end, yeah, Tatum, amazing game down in the history books. But on the other end with Harden, I mean, we saw this whole series his inconsistency and like 9 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in a game 7 where you play
Zero,
44 minutes.
zero in the fourth quarter too.
What are we doing? Like,
Yeah,
what if you're that guy? And then on the other side, Doc Rivers, like you said, 6 and 10 in game 7s throughout his career. So
yeah. I mean, I definitely wouldn't attribute everything to his fault. Like
yeah.
as we talked about earlier, that Kawhi Game 7 winner in Toronto.
Hmm.
There's been a couple. I remember like back when Ben Simmons was on the team, like he had huge fluke games, kind of just like Harden did, especially in Game 7. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Doc Rivers is a legendary coach, and he's consistently getting them pretty deep into the Eastern Conference. But I mean, the Sixers had the team this year to go all, and for them to be
Yeah.
up 2, lose 2 games in a row. I
rough.
mean, there's a lot of things you can attribute to the loss to.
Yeah. One of the things that's interesting is that midway through the series, there were a couple games where Harden was looking like prime, like 2018 form.
Yeah, game one.
Yeah. And game four. And
Uh-huh.
so you're thinking like that's a guy who could get a max contract. And so now after that game seven where he played so bad, no team. I mean, he has the option to sign with the Sixers again. I know there's rumors that he could go back to the Houston Rockets. If I'm Houston, I'm not giving him a 4 year deal. I'm
Just
giving
'cause-
him 2 years if he wants it. But like that performance within itself, like that's not a franchise guy again. That's not a guy I'm signed to a 4 year, $150 million contract. I'll give him 2 years and a player option, and we'll see where he goes from there.
yeah, that's interesting, bro. I mean, it's just crazy. Just like it's crazy how people can be so dominant, like win an MVP, and then just become so inconsistent.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, when Harden isn't playing with confidence, it's so like easy to see. And I feel like the Celtics definitely picked up on that and kind of would like maybe like make him drive, and then he would kick it even if he was open, just because he didn't
mhm.
want to put the shot up.
No, for
Um,
sure.
I could see the Sixers running it back. I feel like him and Embiid have a pretty good relationship, don't you think?
They do, from what I've
Yeah.
seen.
And but I don't know. Yeah, I guess it definitely is on like their main players because the role players definitely played pretty well. I think
Yeah.
I mean, Maxi showed up, what, 22-year-old putting up 30 points. Like you couldn't ask for more there. PJ Tucker's pretty sorry though. Like I never really liked PJ, bro. He always finds himself on like the better teams, but he's
And
just out
playing.
there. Yeah,
I
he's
mean, he's
always.
playing, closing in on 40 years old, and he's in
I
these
know.
in these series. So his
I
defense,
know.
you know, it's he's gotten worse over the years, obviously with age. But for him to even be out there, to me, is crazy. Just
Yeah.
still hooping.
Who else? Who else did they play? Because
Tobias Harris inconsistent.
yeah.
You know, so
Did you
I
see
think
the? Sorry, did you see the? I don't want to pronounce his name incorrectly, but
yeah,
how the Sixers player on the bench like grabbed Jalen Brown when he was running back.
no,
Um, you didn't see that? Okay.
no, I didn't.
I don't know his name. It's like he's one of
Georgie
their.
Niang,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm not
He was on the
surprised.
bench. Jalen Brown put up a three, was running back. Like I guess he kind of might have pushed Harden. Harden was on the
Yeah,
ground. They were right on the Sixers bench, and he like grabbed Jalen Brown's leg, kind of like the tripping or just slow him down, and they both got teed up.
yeah.
But I mean,
Mm.
that definitely could end a lot worse.
It could have, but I think with this series, what you saw is that I mean, we could both agree that the better team won. The Celtics
Definitely.
were a better team altogether, and they won.
Yeah.
And so, going off of that, I guess we can go over back to the Western Conference. I want to talk a little bit about what we saw in this Nuggets Sun series overall and some
Okay.
key
Yeah. So,
takeaways.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, first of all, CP3 is just addicted to losing. That man cannot catch a break. I guess he was hurt, so he missed the past couple games, but I feel like for the Suns as well, it's like all these teams, it was pretty much win the championship or
or bust.
rebuild again and figure it out next year. But
Yeah.
after trading away like most of their team, just creating a whole team halfway through the season, obviously getting KD, the Suns definitely didn't end up where they wanted to be,
Mhm.
And they got, oh my God, it wasn't even interesting to watch. They blew out, man.
Yeah.
What
I
do you think
think
the issues were with the Suns?
Well, I think what we saw, I mean, that first round they had with the Clippers, the team itself, especially after CP went out, I mean, it was Durant and it was Booker, and they were both playing phenomenal. I think for a period of time, Booker was averaging like 35 points, shooting 60+% from the field.
Yeah,
But I think as these series went on, especially with the Nuggets playing at that altitude, like if your top two performers are not playing to their absolute pinnacle, it's over. And so the minute that KD and Booker had a bad game, you saw because that's all they have.
right.
And with CP out and then DeAndre Ayton playing like my 6 year old cousin, like I- you can't rely on anyone else. And
Yeah,
so I'm not even though it was at home, I'm not really surprised that they got 30 balled with how they were playing. My biggest question, and I'll leave this to you, is earlier this season we saw KD get traded from the Brooklyn Nets for Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, 4 first rounds, and a future pick swap with the Suns to the Nets. Looking at that now with KD at 34 years old, what are your takeaways?
Dude, especially because how well Cam and McCall both played going to the Nets,
Yeah,
bringing them into the plans or the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, in the long run, I definitely think the Suns might have lost it, and that's crazy to say because they did just get one of the best offensive players of all time,
yeah,
and KD does play super well with Booker. He kind of thrives when he's like not really the one, and he doesn't have to um make make plays for himself. I guess you
hmm
could say like him and Booker putting up almost combined like 80 points in a couple games is obviously absurd.
yeah,
But yeah, in the long run, like these types of years, it's win or go home, as I said, like win it
yeah,
all or bust. And for the money they're spending and for what they lost, I think the Suns actually could have lost this trade.
yeah. No, I agree with that. And it'll be interesting. I don't want to speak too much on the future now, but
You know,
how they can kind of build this team around those players next year with maybe a little bit more time and the
the
team
Nets,
can gain a little bit more cohesiveness so
yeah,
they can compete because obviously the Booker Durant combo, just those two guys within itself, it's not going to work.
yeah, they definitely need some role players. Well, it's interesting because in the playoffs, like teams will play seven at most eight players.
Yeah.
So you don't need a full team to thrive, but you
Mm.
do definitely need some role players to, I guess, just take some time away and let them sit on the
Yeah.
bench for a minute, catch their breath. But yeah, I mean, these star players have been playing full 48 minutes. Like I saw Brunson was in that last game for 48 minutes,
hmm
or the game, maybe the game before when they won. But yeah, I guess we can talk a little more about Knicks Heat and then go right into the series.
Lakers Nuggets.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think about the Knicks? I mean, I know like the Knicks fan base is a super strong fan base, and they're
Yeah.
definitely not too happy with like how Julius Randle ended up playing and so on. But I don't know. Like I still see the Knicks as like low bro team. Like I didn't think they were gonna
Yeah.
make it that far. Obviously, they are ranked higher than the Heat at the 8th seed coming from the play-in.
hmm
But dude, it's crazy to say, but like Julius Randle was an all NBA player, and the Knicks definitely did have potential to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So what do you think happened there?
Yeah. I mean, I'll put it this way. If someone told you earlier this year that a team with Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, a couple other role players were to get eliminated in the second round of the Eastern Conference, that's something that you would believe, right? I think this team ultimately maxed out on its potential as well. Like I don't if you have a team full of guys who aren't top 10, top 15 players, together they can be good. And that's when I think you see a lot of regular season wins, which is why they had a better record than someone like the Heat. But in the playoffs like that, it comes down to coaching. And Eric Spoelstra on the Heat is amazing. Jimmy Butler during the playoffs, you see him go from that top 20 guy to a top 10 guy in the playoffs. He's a top 10 player in the
Top
playoffs.
five, top
Top
five, I
five.
would say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
the
So
coaching is crazy because do you know Eric Spoelstra? He's never won Coach of the Year, and this year he
really,
he ended up winning coaches that have won it twice with the Knicks coach and the Bucks. So
wow.
it is a lot about coaching. I mean, it is a lot about who wakes up in the playoffs, which obviously Hemi Butler did.
Himmy.
I I mean, I think the Knicks have like definitely some potential. They're definitely going in the right direction. But
Yeah.
I've seen like fans just shoot like on TikTok, just like throwing Julius Randle posters at the stadium and
Yeah.
stomping on them, and they're acting like like come on. What do you think was gonna happen?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you expect
They
with
would
this
have
team?
done dropped off by the Bucks anyways, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So
I think until you can see the Knicks with one of those top 10 guys on their team, like a KD, like a Damian Lillard,
yeah,
one of those guys,
it would be
you're not going
crazy.
to be competing for anything greater than a possible Eastern Conference Finals exit.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess going from there, we can go into these upcoming series that we're
Yeah.
really excited about. We can go to the Western Conference, starting with the Lakers and the Nuggets.
Yeah. This is where it gets fun. A
Yeah.
bubble rematch. Definitely wasn't a fluke. We got the Lakers and Nuggets matching up game one on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Get with the number one seed and a number seven seed in the Lakers.
Uh-huh.
And in my opinion, this is really going to come down to the AD Jokic matchup. What do you think is going to happen here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really interesting. So far for Jokic, he's seen DeAndre Ayton, who was one of the softest centers in the league,
Yeah.
and they played who else, besides the Suns, they
Um.
played the Timberwolves with Karl
Yep.
Anthony Towns. So this is going to be a big matchup. I agree with you that this is the first time that in this series, Jokic is going to be playing a comparable center to himself,
Yeah.
and not on the offensive side, which we've seen AD excel at, but on the defensive end. And so that matchup between those two players is going to be crucial ultimately to who win the series.
Definitely.
Um,
I
just
think
even
that.
before it starts, I want to hear your early predictions on who you
Yeah.
think's going to win and how many games.
Yeah. Based on experience and based on the script, because I've already seen the script,
Okay.
I think the Lakers were going to take it in six. I think it's going to end up a lot like how the Warriors series actually was. I think the
Uh,
Lakers might take a game, maybe game two in Denver, and then win them both at home. I don't know. I think LeBron, like, I feel like we're still yet to see LeBron go off in the playoffs this year.
uh-huh.
Him having the 30 points in game six was actually his highest scoring of the playoffs. He had yet to hit 30.
Yeah.
And I feel like he still has a lot left in the tank. He's an old man, but dude, this is big time. These are the moments that legends are made for. And it is going to be tough. I'm not saying that. The Nuggets are a very well rounded team, very fundamentally played. They got obviously Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon,
Yeah.
MPJ, and KCP. I think it's going to be very interesting, and I definitely want to go like specifically into each matchup. So, like, see which role player, which player other than maybe Jokic, AD, LeBron are going to have the biggest impact.
Yeah. No, I agree that I do think LeBron, as the series have gone on, he's actually started to play better. And being in his 20th season, being 38 years old, these are the times that he really works for, to be in the Western Conference Finals, to have a chance to make the finals, to continue his legacy and build on. And so I think it's a big thing between AD, LeBron, Jokic, and Jamal.
Yeah,
If those guys can come to play on either end, I think that's big for the series. Personally, I have the Nuggets winning this in 5 or 6.
five or
I
six.
think, yeah, I think that Jokic is just on a different level than everyone else in his absolute prime. They have home court advantage. And then on top of the fact that they have all these role players that are so interchangeable that I've noticed that just come in and do the work that needs to be done. And when the offense is kind of like rotating around Jokic as it has been, that's huge to have those role players. So
Yeah,
I'll
I
leave this
mean,
to you first. Who do you think, being that you have the Lakers winning, is the X factor outside of LeBron and AD to really put their team over the hump to win this series?
yeah, this is definitely gonna rely heavily on what Darvingham like creates matchups. Because each series has definitely changed, and like you look at Lonnie Walker, for example, he didn't really get any playing time like second half of the year at all. And he
Yeah.
ended up being like a huge turning point for the Lakers against the Warriors series. So it'll be interesting if he plays as much as he did last series. But going back to your question, I definitely think D'Lo is going to be a huge factor, X factor within the
Uh-huh.
series. You know, the third person who's going to like I guess be the most important within the Laker. I see as D'Lo, like he's our starting point guard. He's going to have a lot of time to make a big difference within the game,
Mm-hmm.
and because I kind of look at him and like I guess he'll match up with Jamal or maybe it'll be Austin Reeves. I guess
Yeah.
depending on what they do. I think D'Lo will be definitely be the X factor if he hits his transition threes. If he's able to be shifty in the paint, I think D'Lo is also very inconsistent, along with everyone on the Lakers, pretty much. So you never really know who's going to step up in the moment. I think, I'll just say D'Lo and Austin Reeves. I think the Lakers guards, and then I guess put Schroeder in there as well. It's what's going to be the deciding factor within the series.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I would say on the Nuggets end, obviously Jokic has been amazing so far this series. Jamal has in games showed those glimpses of what he did in the bubble, being
Yep.
that second guy that can lead you. And so for me, I think my X factor is Michael Porter Jr. I think what you're going to see a lot in this series is a matchup between Aaron Gordon and Jared Vanderbilt, and then having
Really.
MPJ.
So you think? You think Aaron Gordon? I think Aaron Gordon's going to guard LeBron.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm just looking into that. I mean, even if you have that happening, you would think there's going to be MPJ, mostly his primary defender being Jared Vanderbilt. Because if it's Austin Reeves, I'm telling you, he's given that a full nuggets and fries with a soda on the side. I mean, that's a combo. He's busting their ass up,
nah,
and
Reeves is too small for
he's too
MPJ.
small.
Yeah,
But we saw he played a lot on Clay in the last series,
yeah,
who's not the same, but comparable to Michael Porter Jr.
just
And
like touch and shoot.
yeah, and even though Clay, we said early, later in the series kind of fell apart,
Yeah.
he had some games when he was matched up against Reeves specifically, it was buckets. We saw that. It was straight buckets. So that's something that I'm interested to see how Darvin Ham does the matchups and excited to talk about that after game one tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see how KCP plays, because I remember when he was actually on the Lakers team when we beat the Nuggets in the bubble, and the game definitely I forget which game it was, but it came down to the AD game winner. And if that didn't happen, I remember KCP saying that the Nuggets totally could have taken the
Yeah.
series. And so, but KCP's I remember just looking a little bit at last game, I think he put up 20 or something. So
Hmm.
that'll be a good matchup.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just excited to see overall, like for years now, we've been saying, what do the Nuggets look like when they're fully healthy? What is the max out potential of this team? And right now, like they're not dealing with any injuries for the most part.
yeah.
So we really get to see like what does this Nuggets team look like? Never made an NBA Finals in franchise history. Obviously, never won one. So this is big for the state of Colorado and for all the fans alike.
What do you think the game plan for success there to guard Jokic is? Because AD is definitely better in the paint, probably the
Yeah,
most blocks ever in a playoff series. But Jokic is definitely a ball handler, and he
yeah,
he runs it from the perimeter. And if they can bring out AD, I guess put a screen on him, and the Lakers might be lost if AD's lost in the perimeter.
yeah. I think they're four mans like Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt. I
Yeah.
think they're gonna have them playing down low primarily because
Okay.
if they just put AD down in the paint, Jokic has, he's not Kevon Looney. He's going to show the ability to stretch the
Yeah.
floor from both the mid range, his floater game, his 3 point. And so I think having AD up and into Jokic to kind of bothering him will have, that impact is this series, in my opinion, because if you take Jokic out of his kind of natural environment, the way that he plays the game, then their whole offense is gone because he's the guy.
So I'm saying I feel like for the Lakers to be successful, they need to stop Jokic
Mhm.
either scoring wise or assisting wise.
Yeah.
Jokic sets up everyone, and I'd rather him have to do like a cross the court pass because
Mhm.
we're doubling him rather than
Yeah.
driving by and kicking it um, to MPJ in the corner, which I'm not excited to see.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so you got Nuggets in 5 or 6.
Nuggets 5 or 6.
We'll be devil's advocate. Yeah, I'm sticking with the Lakers.
All right.
I feel like every series now it's just been, yeah, Grizzlies will take him, Warriors will take him. The Lakers are here. The Lakers are here to stay.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said earlier, I mean, if the Lakers win it all, let's say they beat the Celtics in the finals, wow, LeBron, he got to be the GOAT. He
Yeah.
got to be the GOAT.
You gotta
I
be.
don't know what anyone else will say there, but that might be the script. So we'll see. I'm excited for the series starting tomorrow.
Yeah. So
Yeah, looking to the East, let's go into it real quick. We got the Celtics coming off a huge win in Game 7.
mhm.
Obviously, Tatum putting up the 50 piece. And then we got Jimmy Butler in the Miami Heat, the
Yeah.
eighth seed, coming out all the way from the play in. Nobody really thought they would do it, but this is actually a big rematch from the bubble. The Heat took them, in 2020. But predictions, I
Yeah.
think I have a feeling we're going to be on the same page here. I think the Celtics will take them in. I'm gonna say 5.
Yeah. Um, I agree with that take. I think to overlook what Jimmy has done this series and to say they're going to get swept is a little bit disrespectful to how he's played. So I could definitely see there being a game, maybe two, where Jimmy can just take over and be that guy. And what we saw last year, I mean, with the Celtics, they played and it went to 7. And if Jimmy makes that final 3 point shot, they're in the finals against
Oh
the
my
Warriors.
God, yeah, the transition theory.
So it's hard for me to want to count them out, but with how the Celtics have progressed, the guys that they've added, like Malcolm Brogdon, with Robert Williams back in the lineup,
They're only better. They're only
they're
better.
they're only better. And yeah, I agree with you that
Just
5 games most.
the Celtics are coming off so much momentum, you
Yeah.
know. If they were to lose in six in Philadelphia, it would have been so much different. But
Hmm.
coming from seven, like you would think after coming off a game seven series that they'd be tired. I feel like Tatum and Brown are just gonna take it as
Yeah.
school and they're ready to go crazy. I'm taking yeah, I'm gonna stick with that. And
Yeah.
wow, so coming from my side, I got a Lakers Celtics finals, which would be crazy.
Yeah. I think we honestly saw the Eastern Conference Finals when it was Celtics versus Sixers. Those were the
Yep,
best two teams left in the East. And now
definitely.
that the Celtics won, I think this is their little warm up for the finals, to be honest. And
Yeah.
then we would see the Lakers versus Celtics. But that's kind of looking too far out. We got to stick more in the moment, and we'll just have to see how those two series play out.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is a little interesting thought I've been looking at.
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Hmm.
Is it more important to be the best player within the season, the full season, 82 games, or the
Yeah.
best player in the playoffs, which is obviously the 16 games if you can get there? Like, do you think it's more important to carry your team to get to the number one seed, um, like
Well,
into the playoffs, or then within
yeah.
the playoffs? I guess not
Um,
saying like they win it all, but I'm just saying be
yeah.
the best team, be the best player. And player I look here is obviously Jimmy Butler. Like he wasn't even an all-star this year, and then
Hmm.
the playoff turns on, and he's him. He's putting up 50 pieces back to back to back, and it's like it does seem like at the end of the day, the playoffs is all that matters.
Yeah.
You can be the
I'm
Bucks, be the number one seed. It don't matter now. So
if you don't
that
come to
was,
play. No, I think there's obviously a mixture. I don't think the Heat had to take this hard of a road. I think if their team would have played a little better, they could have put themselves in a better position. But I mean, once you're in the playoffs, you're in. And now they're going to be going to the Eastern Conference Finals. So it doesn't really matter what they were able to do in the regular season. Obviously, having the home court advantage is big, which is going to go to the Celtics, which even strengthens why I would think that they're going to win that series. But yeah, I would say that being the best player in the playoffs supersedes the best player in the regular season by a mile.
so going off of that, I want you to rank the best play, like the best number one players within each team, like the last four teams left,
Okay.
as well as the second option for each team.
Okay. I would say at this point in time, I got a Jokic number one. His efficiency, the way he's able to control his own offense, and the dominant performances we've seen from these past two rounds, got to give him the number one spot. At two, I'm going to go LeBron.
Really?
You can't count out LeBron. He's We've seen him amp it up in these last couple of games. I think we're finally starting to see peak playoff form from him, and he knows what's at stake. He knows what he wants is that chip, and so I can't count out LeBron. At a narrowly behind LeBron, I have Jason Tatum at number three. I think that people were starting to count him out. It seemed like from game to game when he would play bad, people would kind of look at the validity of him being a superstar. And then he has 51 in a game seven and looks like one of the top three players in the league. And I think that he also knows what's at stake. Last year in the NBA Finals against the Warriors, he had such an amazing playoff run up until that point, and then just crumbled in the finals and lost to a team that was less talented. I mean, that Celtics team last year was more talented than the Warriors team, but the Warriors had that championship pedigree, had the best player on the court in Steph Curry, and they were able to get it done. So I think Jason, he knows what's at stake, and I would have him at that third best player. Now the fourth for me is pretty interesting because it's a toss up between Jimmy Butler and Anthony Davis. And when we've seen Anthony Davis play at peak level, he'll give you 33 and 20 in a game and be the best defender on the court and, one of the guys leading their team on offense. But the way that Jimmy's played, I got to give him that fourth spot. So Yoke, LeBron, Tatum, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think it's definitely arguable that like this is LeBron's best team that he's ever played with. So
Really?
I guess what I was trying to say is like ranking them based on importance. and I see Jimmy Butler as more important than Jason Tatum on the Celtics. Because I could like there'll be nights when Jaylen Brown is playing better than Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
There's no one really on the Heat. Like they also rely heavily on Jimmy Butler to do
Hmm.
it all for them. So I do agree with what you were saying there. I think I kind of wanted to word the question a little differently.
Yeah.
And so if I'm looking at who's the most important player, each team ranked, I'm gonna go Jokic at one.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go Jimmy Butler at two, Tatum at three, and LeBron the King James at four.
Really?
The Lakers don't need LeBron to put up these numbers. We like as we've seen, he hasn't put in up more than 30 at all these
Yeah.
plays, and we obviously became pretty successful no matter that.
Hmm.
So I think like my next question leading towards that is now I want you to go into which second player on the team, like I guess disregarding the best player that you just said.
Hmm.
So we have Jamal Murray, AD, Jaylen Brown, and I guess Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
I want you to rank them on who's the most important that will lead the team to success.
It's a good question. I would say number one, like you just mentioned before, you got to go with Jaylen Brown. On any given night, he looks like the best player on that team. And it's funny because when you look at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum compared to other duos in the league, it's not really 1-2. You know what I'm saying? Like you have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. That's a one
One
two,
A, one B.
1A, 1B. And last year, if the Celtics were to win that finals, Jaylen Brown would have been the finals MVP, no question. And that would have shifted the whole dynamic around those two guys. So easily, I would say you have to have Jaylen Brown with the number one spot.
Agreed.
At number two, I would go back. If you're looking at it from that way, the second best player, you got to go Anthony Davis.
Definitely.
If he's your best player, I had him at fourth. But as your second best player on the team, easily
Yeah.
second. Elite defender, especially in this series against Jokic. He's going to be a guy matching up against him. I would have him at number two. And then at number three, Jamal Murray. He's been playing well. Um, he's kind of on that upper rank of point guards around the league, but not elite, not absolutely elite. I wouldn't put him in the Damian Lillard, Steph,
Right.
Shea
No, I
Gilgeous
mean I
Alexander,
would take De'Aaron Fox over
De'Aaron
Jamal.
Fox, those guys for sure. So I'd put him at three. And then this is no disrespect to Kyle Lowry. He's 36 years old. Gave you about 12 to 14 points in the regular season. He's a playoff leader. He's a guy who's been there before in the playoffs, deep in playoffs runs. But yeah, at this stage in his career, you can't expect him to be the number two guy on a championship level team. And I think everybody knows that.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely easy. I could switch around AD and Jaylen Brown
Yeah.
there. Um, yeah, I mean, also no disrespect to Kyle Lowry,
Hmm.
dude. He's probably the best person I've ever seen at taking charge. He does it
Yeah.
so often too, which is
Yeah.
definitely a huge momentum shift. But
Definitely
yeah,
gives it all.
um, cool. Yeah. You want to go a little into like coaching? Like saw earlier, Monty Williams got fired as the Suns coach. What do you think is going to happen there?
Yeah. I mean, just to speak on that a little bit, I think it's interesting the narrative around the league when you see teams not capitalize on their fullest potential. Like, I can't say that this series losing is Monty Williams' fault at all. Nor do I think it's any of the players specifically. Grant and Booker did the best that they could do, being the two really only elite players on the floor, and they lost the series. So I don't think it's a coaching problem. I don't think you add someone like Ime Udoka to your squad next year as a coach and expect them to go any further. I don't
Yeah.
think you add Mark Jackson as your head coach and expect them to make the finals. So I think that it was a weird firing. Um, and I think Monty Williams is actually a good coach. And it's sad to see someone like him go. You look at another coach in the league like Mike Budenholzer for the Bucks. I mean, he got fired and they made the championship 2 years ago, won the whole thing 2 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to look at because, like, especially like Darvin Ham. This is Darvin Ham's first year,
Yeah.
but he's a rookie coach, but he
Uh-huh.
does happen to have the best player of all time on his
Yeah.
team. So it does make the job easier. Same with the Celtics, like new coach, they're if not even better this year. Obviously, they added Brogdon.
Yeah.
I I definitely don't want to say like too much of the the loss and the failures depends on the coach, but at the same
Mhm.
time, it really does, because if like the Suns, it was win it all or bust, and
Mhm.
obviously they couldn't even get to the Western Conference. So
Yeah.
if they're not going to trade like KD, they just gave up everything to get him. So I guess it does fall on the
Yeah.
coach.
I think it's weird that they do it around the league, and I think it's a bit of a cop out when you see these, organizations firing their coaching because they really have nobody to blame. And so I think it's easy just to go, "Oh, fire the coach, move on. We'll get a new culture in, and maybe that's a problem, and we can, build upon that."
Yeah, well, we also don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like
Yeah.
maybe they didn't have the best relationship with
Hmm.
Booker, KD, but
Yeah.
yeah, perfect. So going, I guess I'm excited to go in depth each game after each game
Hmm.
of the next series.
Yeah.
Definitely want to go onto a little other stuff. John Morant suspended again from all team activities for
Hmm.
holding a gun in a live video. And dude, like it's what's going on, Ja? Is I don't know why he's always being recorded and posted. I don't know why they don't got like a team to check on that. But
Yeah.
what's going on with Ja?
I mean, I guess to give my own thoughts on it, first, it's just disappointing to see a guy that's that talented who, I mean, the NBA is a business altogether. And so they're trying to look, once guys like LeBron, Steph, Durant leave, they got to build new faces to the league. And you can't have a guy like that you want to be the face of the NBA on Instagram Live flashing guns around. I mean, if you saw LeBron or KD or Steph doing that,
Yeah,
you wouldn't even
exactly.
you wouldn't even believe it.
Yeah, it's a
And
good
so
way to
it's
look at
sad.
it.
I'm happy, I guess, with the NBA reprimanding him somewhat. It's looking like he's going to have a hefty suspension for at least the first quarter or half of the season. But
Wow.
even after that, it's like it's got to come down to Ja himself as a person and who he wants to be pictured as, because it's really going to be easy for him to just throw it all away. And
Yeah.
that'd be sad to see because he's such an elite talent.
Yeah, and just especially like with this day and age, it's like you anything you post on social media or so on is going to get out there, especially as
Yeah.
an all-star NBA player, So definitely, it's interesting to see what's going on in his head.
Yeah. It's funny how it's not like anyone's doing it to him. He's doing it to himself. I mean, this is his homie's Instagram live that he's in the car. Like, you got to know it's
Yeah,
going.
his own
It's like
friends
he
as
wants it
well.
to happen.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's
I mean, that
interesting.
sucks to see such a good talent. He's gonna have to figure it out, or we're gonna move on from him. The whole league will, all the fan bases.
I'll move on. I got Ant Edwards over Joe now.
Let's go. Love to see it. Ant the good guy.
All right, moving on into another segment. This
Uh-huh.
Tuesday, we got the 2023 draft lottery. This
Yep.
one is, if not even more important than I guess going back to the Zion Williamson draft,
Hmm.
I would say was like the most hyped around. But we
Yeah.
got Victor coming up from France as maybe one of the best, like I don't know, 7-footer, but he
Prospects.
one of the best prospects ever.
Hmm.
And it'll be super interesting because there's definitely a bunch of teams that could have great use with Victor.
Yeah.
First team I can put to mind is the Spurs. You know,
Yeah.
if Victor can go on a team with the culture after Greg Popovich, and obviously the Spurs have become pretty much a nobody. I think I think this could be super interesting. I think also a team like the Magic could be interesting. Putting him next to Paolo,
Hmm.
they'd be a super fun team to watch. And then last, I would also love like because I remember before the Thunder played so well this year, that was a huge thing. It was like could Chet and Victor maybe play together? Dude, imagine Victor on the Thunder. Him,
Yeah.
Rashai, um, Giddy, Chet hasn't even played a game yet, and J Dub. Oh my God, they'd be contenders.
Yeah. I think obviously it's such a big draft, and it's kind of like one of those like Zion, LeBron James draft of those three, where
Definitely.
everyone knows who's going number one. And so it just kind of ultimately comes down to what team is going to get that lottery spot. I think what you mentioned first about the Spurs is really interesting to me. We saw it back, I believe it was the 99 season. David Robinson, the Admiral, best player on the team, goes down with the injury. That year, that team stinks, but they get the number one seed, the number one pick. Who comes in? Tim Duncan comes in and saves the franchise, leads them to 5 chips in the future, and becomes a top 10 player of all time. I want to see, I think the Spurs, for how lethal and how good they were for such an extended period of time over the last 20 years. Obviously, they've started to falter now, had some rough seasons. I almost feel like it's owed to them that they should get a generational talent like Victor. I don't know if I want to see him on a team like OKC. Obviously, it'd be cool to have those towering guys all together, but I really want Victor to be alone as him being the guy. You put him on the Magic, Paul is already there. I think Paul is the number one guy in the future. The Rockets, I don't know if I want to see that either. Jalen Green and Sengun and Kevin Porter Jr. and Josh Christopher, like they already have their guys there. And then you have the Pistons, who are also shit this year. And they
Yeah.
have Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. Like I like the duos that are already been created with the young teams. And I think the Spurs are one of those teams that's really lacking one of those generational guys to come in. And maybe if it's even just Greg Popovich last year with rookie Victor, I think that'd be a perfect send off, to have that elite of a talent coming in.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, there's so many young and I like a lot of teams are on the come up,
Mm-hmm.
like especially the Thunder there. So I don't know the exact odds for each team, but I'm super excited to see where he's going to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, we definitely talked about this too, but Scoot Henderson would also be a number one pick if Victor wasn't there.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of also players that will definitely be league shifters depending on where they go.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the draft with Zion and Ja, even though we just kind of got into some of the trouble that Ja's been having, like Zion hasn't been able to play a full season yet of NBA basketball.
I
And
think
this,
Darius Garland might have been like he might be the most successful player like to this point from
yeah,
like
no, for real.
over RJ Barrett as well.
And so, the one thing I always say is that regardless of talent, the best ability is availability. And so even though Zion is a better player than those other guys, if he's not going to get on the floor, it doesn't mean anything. And the same thing
Yeah,
goes for Victor. We've already seen overseas he's had major injury problems. And
I
when you're
know. I'm
seven
terrible.
four, like it ain't looking pretty. And so I wonder like if he can, maximize his potential and stay on the court, obviously you'd want him. But if I'm a GM looking to draft somebody, it's like I might go with Scoot, the safer option, who's also uber athletic, 6'5". It could be an Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox like, type of guy. So it's
Yeah,
interesting.
I hope Victor doesn't get
No,
injured.
yeah.
Just Chet, like I'm excited to see how Chet plays next year.
Hmm.
All right, cool. I think going into the last segment, we've kind of been a little all over the place,
Yeah.
but the GOAT conversation, you know, we got the script, we got the Lakers Celtics, and the
Hmm.
Lakers winning it all. That's how I had to see the script. If
Yeah.
so, LeBron gets another chip under his belt. What's happening within this conversation?
Well, I mean, obviously our opinions may be different. I already have LeBron James as the GOAT in my eyes. I think what he's been able to do over his 20 years, the fact that in some ways he's still peaking as a player right now and still impacting winning at this stage of his career is amazing. But I do think you're right that if he is to win this chip this year, to bring home his 5th championship, most likely another finals MVP, in his 20th season at 65 years old, dude, what can you say now? What can they say now?
Not much. I mean, I think like in every stat, he
Yeah.
has Jordan covered
Hmm.
except chips.
Yeah.
So that's where we're heading. I think even the biggest LeBron hater known to date, Skip Bayless, actually said the same thing. If LeBron was able to get another one, who knows? Like, what are they going to say now? Is
Yeah.
exactly correct. Um,
That's interesting.
but yeah, dude. I mean, overall, I'm just super excited to watch these last
Hmm.
series. Hopefully, I can maybe go to a game. I don't know. It's a bag, but we'll see if I can go to maybe game 3 or 4
Yeah.
in LA. But yeah, bro, I think I'm ready to cap this off. I'm excited to keep running some pods over Zoom and just keep talking sports, bro.
Yeah. No, great pod. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We'll see you next time.
See ya.